Hello everyone. Today I'm very happy to announce about one interesting and easily implemented update about time of the day. Usually in many games this can be not considered as the really interesting update, but I found it to add some more realism into my game, and this is why I implemented it. Plus, it was quite easy to do that, um, so I guess you will like it. So, how I did that? Firstly, I have in my scene this directional lights object placed here. But to make time of the day, I need to rotate the directional light object somewhere in the space that it would be shining, um, that it would be lighting up the terrain, the objects around, and so on. So to do that, I need some kind of controller which would be changing the rotation of my directional light, which is the sun. And I made a script called time of day, which is responsible for controlling everything what is related with rotating the sun around the earth. There are a few parameters which are defining how actually the sun moves in the sky. But firstly, let's go ahead and go into play mode and take a look what it is done. So by default, you will see something like that. I made that the sun would be moving relatively slowly, so that you wouldn't see something like switching between day and night very frequently, that there would be some time to play in the daytime and some time at night time, and so on. So here I have my sun. At the moment I placed it in the east, and I can see that it is slowly moving upwards. It will rise up to the maximum point, and then it will head towards the west. West is somewhere here, and it will hide behind the horizon, and it will become dark. And again it will rotate again and start rising from that point. But at the moment it would be long time to wait. So I added a parameter which allows to modify how fast the sun moves. There is this parameter called speed, which is linked with real length of the day. Earth day is about 24 hours, and the speed actually links how faster the sun moves relative to the Earth rotational period. So it means that the game time will be 60 times faster than the real time in our world. So it means that 1 minute will count as 1 second. So 1 minute will be passed forward at each second. So 1 hour will take about 1 hour will take how much? 60 seconds. So 1 hour will be 1 minute, and the sun will fully rotate around towards its origin point, where it is set at the beginning, through 24 minutes. So let's go ahead and take a look what I can do to change this. So if I increase, let's say, quite a lot, let's say by to make it over 1000 times faster, save, from enter, save, and then go into the game mode, I would see rotation to happen immediately faster. I can see the sun moving over the sky relatively fast compared to the previous time, and it will be setting towards the west. I can also see that the scene lighting is also changing. There is no global illumination calculated at the time, so it's relatively fast, just a sun. And finally the sun is setting, and this procedural skybox is making real nice colors with this orange twilight. And I can see that when sun is setting down, the night is coming and it is becoming really dark. This is realistic, because in real life you will have this kind of darkness if you live outside of a city, somewhere in mountains, in woods. When the sun is setting below the horizon, it will make complete darkness and you won't be able to see any light. Only if we live in the city or in a village, we can see lights which shines around us and reflects from various objects. But if we are somewhere in nature and there are cities far away, we won't see any light. So this is how it works even here. I don't want to make any artificial lighting on my real world, and later I will probably be adding some lights, maybe from shining from buildings or somewhere around, which would make possibility to have some lighting at night and to play like that. Another option is to add the moon, but I'm still thinking about that. It would be something like second sun, but it's still not very clear if it will work correctly. So I will see. Maybe I will make a moon working together with the sun. Sometimes it will be visible at night, and so on. The next thing to talk about is the actual rotation axis. As we noticed, the sun was rotating with some kind of angle which is defined by the Earth rotation axis. So here I made it possible to easily change where the rotation axis is actually pointing, and I called it as North Pole vector. So how to see these numbers actually? It's a three-dimensional vector showing where Earth north axis is pointing in the sky if we look from the vector 0, 0, 0. So it would be x equals 1, y equals 1. So here we have these little axis on this Unity built-in. I don't know how to call it. So if we look from 0, which is in the center, onto this cube, we want to go by 1 in x-axis, and we want to go by 1 in y-axis. So the the actual vector would be pointing somewhere between x and y axis with around 45 degrees angle, but there is no actually no actual component added into z. So it means that the sun is rotating like in a big circle, something like I'm moving the mouse now. So the south is in, if I look like that, I'm looking towards the west, east is behind me, the south is in the left hand side, and the north is in the right hand side. So this makes it quite easy to orientate myself. And the pole is 45 degrees with x-axis angle placed. So this is okay, but it only allows to define the axis. But how to put actually the sun? Also, that the sun would be following, let's say, different curves, different locations on the earth. Let's say I want to have something like equatorial environment or polar environment. So one thing is to deal with rotational axis, and another thing is, which could be another topic, about seasons. Let's say if we want to have sun, something like in winter, yes. At the moment I have 30 degrees in X. It means that sun is in the east, but it's above the horizon. It means that it's more far from the equator in the north side rather in the south side. So if I would put minus 30, I would have winter at this point. If I put 0, I would have something like spring or autumn. So let's actually look through this, how it will look in the game. So if I put 0, the day and the night will be the same length. So I click just play, and I immediately see that sun is rising from the east, and it will land in exactly the opposite direction. But sun's height is not so high because I placed that sun's how to call it, sun's position would be for us to represent spring or autumn, something between summer and winter. So the sun is setting right there, and there will be a long night, which will take again the same length as the day. Yes, and the complete darkness comes in. So now I need to wait again. I still can see some shadows, probably some bad light is passing through somewhere. So yes, it's the night takes a bit longer, and again it's the morning, so the sun is rising again at the same location in the east, and it will come here where I seen before to land in the west. Now sun is not high above the horizon, so this is why it happens. So it's heading and it should land, it should set at this point somewhere, or at this, I can't remember where it was sitting. Somewhere here, yes. Yes, it was here. So yes, so this was basically when I changed this rotation in the directional light. Now, as for a winter, I need to put negative ones. So I will start at night, and it will be night for the beginning. It will be completely dark, but the sun should start rising soon enough. But so it's rising not here but there, and the day will be very short. So we can see that sun is not going very far above the horizon, and finally it will be setting rather than there. It will be setting somewhere here. So the day will be much shorter, and there will be a very long night now. But I'm not going to wait for the whole night to be completed. So the next big thing, let's bring summer again. Where is my light? Oh, it's becoming, it's making to be positive. It's subtracting from 300. So let's make summer again. But now I want to change my location on Earth. Let's say I want to be in a North Pole, yes. So what I need to do is to make this one as 0. So if I am in the North Pole, the sun will be rotating horizontally. Yes. That's what we see. The sun is rotating horizontally, and it will be rotating the whole circle just like that. It will be never setting below the horizon. So it will be something like what you would see exactly in the Earth North Pole. Now, as for the South Pole, you could put, I guess I didn't check, you could put -1, and the sun will rotate into the opposite direction. Yes, so we can see that sun is rotating into the opposite direction as we would be living in the South Pole. Now, another thing, let's say I want to be at a high latitude, but not somewhere in the pole, let's say somewhere in quite north, but not at the polar region. So let's make it something a bit above 0. So you can calculate angle. What is the angle of the pole vector compared to the Earth plane? And we should see a nice summer twilights when the sun won't be hiding behind the horizon very heavily. So let's wait and see. The sun is now moving not very horizontally, but so west is here. Remember where we have these hills? I like to make it that way. And finally the sun is slowly approaching to the horizon. And it should reach the horizon, or maybe it could be, no, it won't reach the horizon. So it is still quite polar, for a quite polar region, this thing, and the sun is starting to rise again. So I need to make it a little bit bigger. Let's see, 0.5, and let's say I want to increase this one a little bit more. To see, because I want to see the twilights. Now angle is about 23, yes, 23.5 degrees. So the sun is approaching the horizon, and it is setting behind. It makes a small twilight, but the light is never gone, and the sun is starting to rise again. So it's something like at a high latitude when we have summer period, when all nights are bright. Yes, so you can get just by using different vectors in two places, in the actual transform and for the North Pole vector. Let's bring it back to the usual latitude, that we would have complete darkness at the night, but that keep nights quite short. And there were several other things to cover, but maybe I will do in the next tutorial. So thanks for watching. I hope you understood about rotations, angles, and so on, and hope to see you next time. Firstly, I have in my scene this directional lights object placed here. But to make time of the day, I need to rotate the directional light object somewhere in the space that it would be shining, that it would be lighting up the terrain, the objects around, and so on. So to do that, I need some kind of controller which would be changing the rotation of my directional. See, something like that. I made that the sun would be moving relatively slowly, so that you wouldn't see something like switching between day and night very frequently, that there would be some time to play in the daytime and sometime at night time, and so on. So here I have my sun. At the moment I placed it in the east, and I can see that it is slowly moving upwards. It will rise up to the maximum point, and then it will head towards the... Hello everyone! Today I'm very happy to announce about one interesting and easily implemented update about time of the day. Usually in many games this can be not considered as the really interesting update, but I found it to add some more realism into my game, and this is why I implemented it. Plus it was quite easy to do that, so I guess you will like it. So how I did that? West is somewhere here, and it will hide behind the horizon, and it will become dark. And again it will rotate again and start rising from that point. But at the moment it would be long time to wait, so I added a parameter which allows to modify how fast the sun moves. There is this parameter called speed, which is light, which is the sun, and I made a script called time of day, which is responsible for controlling everything what is related with rotating the sun around the earth. There are a few parameters which are defining how actually the sun moves in the sky. But firstly, let's go ahead and go into play mode and take a look what it is done. So by default, you will see